And I'm Fernando, and this is the Weekly News by Helium 10. This week, we have a weekly news special edition. We're starting off with a big story, the coronavirus.
Tech giants, including Amazon, met with the World Health Organization last week to discuss how they will stop the spread of coronavirus misinformation. CNBC reports that since the outbreak, a few bad players have been using the tragedy to profit from or spread fear.
Our own users have been a little confused with what really is going on in China, so today we have a special guest, sourcing expert Kian Golzari, to put the questions to rest.
Hi Kian, welcome.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Now Kian, we know you're an expert on China logistics due to having boots on the ground. Can you tell us what areas are most affected?
Yes, so the virus actually broke out in an area called Wuhan, which is quite central in China, and that's in the Hubei district. Now, Wuhan is in a shutdown at the moment. It's been closed off. All public transport is closed off. But then around China, the areas most affected, they're just in pockets, like the south of China, Guangzhou and Shenzhen. That area is also heavily affected as well. But then in between that area, like cities like Xiamen and Quanzhou in the Fujian province, they're back to work, and they've had as little as 8 cases. So it's really just appearing in different pockets around China. It's not like a one-size-fits-all policy for China.
In those pockets where there is the virus is really taking hold, when do you think the factories are going to go back to work?
Well, that's very interesting because like a lot of office workers have actually gone back to work, and because people are able to work on their laptops, but the key is basically the factory workers. And the biggest challenge was that the virus outbroke during their Chinese New Year holiday, which is the biggest people migration in the world. So people are actually scared to travel back to work. So some provinces which are less affected, or some provinces which have like local workers, can go back to work quite soon. And we're actually talking about this week, some factories are going back to work, but some areas have been told, nothing's going to happen until beginning of March at least. So it's really important just to check in with your manufacturer and what area they're located in to see how your goods are going to be affected.
Well, Kian, well, thanks for all the information so far. Could you tell us how you think this is going to affect shipping or lead times for new orders?
Yeah, for sure. Because, we're used to having a lot of shipments like leaving China, and what's happened because of the virus, a lot of shipments haven't gone out. Now, if you imagine like a lot of containers, when they leave China, they have to come back because they get recycled. So now like a lot of empty containers are coming back to China, but they're not going back out. So now there's a stockpile of containers sitting in China. And then because of the virus, like the local workers in the ports and at customs have not gone back to work. So shipments have just not gone out. And as a result, there's going to be a massive surge in shipments when the factories do get back to normal. So as a result, that's going to cause prices to go up a little bit as well for shipments. And the other thing is that like while your factory might be back to work and goods are okay to ship again, you actually have to check in with your forwarder to see where your forwarder is located and if they're okay to ship out goods again. And it is at a price which is workable, because you might have done your costings to have a certain shipping price that you calculated a few months ago, but now the prices have gone way up, or they might stay the same depending on the area. So just double check what your shipping costs are before you send anything out.
So for our users that are affected, is there anything they can do, or what is the best way that they can talk to their manufacturers or their shippers?
Yeah, and so this is a really important point, because I've had a lot of people reach out to me to say, all right, how are my orders being affected? How are shipments being affected? But the number one thing I think you have to do is talk to your manufacturers and check, are they okay? Because at the end of the day, there's a big virus going on in China and a lot of people are dying, and it's really affecting like older generations and the younger generations, which have like a lesser immune system. So, people are probably losing loved ones. And I think the most important thing to say, like, first of all, like, are you okay? Is your family okay? Kids okay? And then after you check that, then basically start talking about business. So I think at the end of the day, sometimes we often forget, like, we're dealing with like people buy from people. We're dealing with like humans at the other end of the world. So just make sure they're okay. And that's the best way to really just check in with them and then start talking about business.
I think that's a valuable insight that we have to remind ourselves that these are still people and they're going through something tragic right now, and to just go straight to business, that lacks empathy and emotional intelligence. That's a great point, Kian. I really appreciate that. Another question, how would you advise people to get in front of their production schedule?
So this is super important as well, because as a result of this virus, which has caused massive delays, everyone's in a rush to get their orders in now. And when these workers and factory workers and offices do eventually go back to work, there's going to be a stockpile of orders. So basically, you want to make sure you're at the front of that production schedule, because already there's going to be a delay. Now, if they have to, they can be now selective of which orders they want to manufacture, which ones are the most profitable, because they've got a stockpile of orders. So that's why I always like to talk about relationships, and relationships being so important. And what we talked about on the previous point, to make sure that they're okay. Well, now that you've checked that they're okay, just mention to them, hey, by the way, these orders are quite urgent and they're to meet this customer's deadline. So please, if you can, when you go back to work, can you push my items to the front of the production schedule? And just make a point to ask that when they do go back to work, that your orders will sit at the top, and what's the earliest date you think you can get to work on it, just so that you sit at the top. Because if you don't say anything, you'll sit at the bottom, and then it could be May or June before your orders get sent out, depending on how busy your factory is.
Finally, the last question that we have for you is, what do you think is the right time to go back to China?
Yeah, so, and this is super important because, you know, a lot of people are posting articles on Facebook and stuff like that to get eyeballs, and they're sort of like scaremongering, and they're showing all these videos and showing that the virus is a lot worse than it actually is. Whereas China is actually one of the best countries in the world to handle a virus like this. From my friends over there who I've been speaking to, you know, they shut down apartment blocks. You can't leave. You can only, one person in the family can only leave every 2 days to go and get like food and stuff like that. So they're taking it very, very seriously. But I've also seen that there's a lot of cases of recoveries as well. So people are starting to recover from the virus. And the only thing I would say is just trusted sources, like, you know, the World Health Organization and stuff like that. Even the Canton Fair in China suspended it, the April and May Canton Fair, so they're going to delay it a little bit. So I would just say, listen to official sources and don't listen to what you read on Facebook.
Wow, Kian, I got a lot out of this experience. Thank you so much for coming in today.
My pleasure, guys. It's been an absolute pleasure, and hope you guys have an awesome day.
Thank you, Kian. It was so great having you on this week, and we can't wait to have you on next time.
Please like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I'm Fernando.
And I'm Ria. Thanks for watching. See you next week.